Welcome to Black Fluidity, special edition of the anthologies of bi Black men. These are true life stories from real bisexual Black men, curated and edited by Frank and Mo, host of the Black Fluidity podcast, Bi Black Men Talk. We hope you find something to take away from each episode. Enjoy.
My name is Heru. I'm 29 years old. I currently live in Atlanta, Georgia, but I'm originally from Jamaica, Queens, New York, born and raised there. And so I first discovered that I'm bisexual when the word wasn't in my vocabulary, but the feelings of liking girls and liking guys about 12 or 13 years old. Definitely my attraction to girls was way, way, way stronger. And I don't know what that has to do with just the socialization or the way that I was brought up, because I already knew at a very, very young age, at like 5, that gay is a bad thing. Like even before I even knew what the hell gay was, like you could be 5, 6, 7 years old and you just know that ain't good. So, and then the word bi is just not a word that's used a lot where I'm from, as far as like just in the lexicon, just in the language and vocabulary as like something legitimate. So that word just wasn't even an option to me. But as far as the experience of liking girls and being attracted to girls and having crushes on girls, that was always very real for me. And then the experience of being attracted to guys, it was like there, but like, what is this? I don't know what's that about, right? But then I feel like a defining moment that made me really, really question my sexuality and not just be so dismissive towards it was porn. So being 12, 13 years old, you just discovering masturbation. I was 12 in 2007. So that's when I was in middle school, 2006 to 2008. And that was around the time where YouTube or porn was mimicking YouTube pages, like the kind of unlimited access to porn, like XTube and RedTube and all these kind of things. This is post DVD, post VHS, post just the magazine and the Hustler magazines and the Penthouse. Like the non-stop unlimited porn on your computer is the era that I discovered pornography. And yeah, that's a lot. That is a lot. So, and then they have the category section. I'm in the category section on porn. I'm looking at the straight section. It's like, okay, this is hot. This is what's happening. And then I'm on the gay section. And I'm just like, oh, okay, wait a minute. This is doing something for me too. What's up with that? There wasn't a bi section. I couldn't really find bi porn, especially specifically bi male porn, like MMF and things like that. And if I did, they definitely would be white. It wouldn't be black people. And if they were black, it had to be interracial. It had to be like a black man and a white woman or something like that. But to see a black woman and a black man and another black man, and they're all engaging with each other in a sexual way, didn't know that existed. And if I knew that existed, I would have came to the conclusion that I'm bisexual a long time ago. So that was like middle school. And then high school was when I actually lost like my virginity and stuff like that. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm definitely straight. You know what I mean? Because this was amazing. And I was still kind of just socialized into the binary belief of sexuality. So, if gay men don't like women and straight men don't like other men, I mean, I guess I'm just rolling with straight, because gay men don't like women and gay men don't like women and straight men do. And I do. I mean, I also like men too, but like, shit, especially at the time, it wasn't romantic for me. So I didn't see myself being with, I didn't picture myself having a boyfriend. I wasn't trying to hold hands. I wasn't even trying to have sex. It was just a porn thing for me. So just it being a porn thing that I occasionally jerk off to or whatever wasn't enough to make it my identity. And also, what identity would I call myself if bi is not even seen as legitimate? So it didn't make sense to say that I'm gay. Straight just made more sense to me based off of my feelings and my environment and what was going on at the time. It just didn't. My attraction to men just seemed like this thing. My interest in men just seemed like this thing that I can kind of just push away as like not that big of a deal. But I knew that when I was in high school, that if I had the opportunity to experience, to explore with another guy, I would have taken that opportunity. So this is like around. So I started high school in 2008, and I graduated high school in 2012. So those years, so I lost my virginity in 2010, and I was about 15, going on 16. I remember that like it was yesterday, spring of 2010. Yeah. You know? But yeah, I lost my virginity with this older girl, super senior. She was like 17 or 18. But yeah, you know, so I was just like, yeah, I guess I'm straight because that was amazing, and I'm gonna keep doing that. And I kept on doing that, and I kept on enjoying it. And I didn't actually have any kind of experience with another dude until I was 22 years old. So yeah, the idea of like gay or straight just didn't really make much sense to me. But I was rolling with straight. Straight made sense to me at the time. I did the best I can do. So then my senior year of high school was when I had my first girlfriend, my first relationship, and that was great. I mean, the relationship was unhealthy and toxic, but the sex was amazing. And it didn't really register to me as like, it didn't really register to me as yeah, I enjoyed it. So it was like, oh yeah, so I guess I guess I'm straight. But like, I still hid my gay porn and all these kind of things. So I didn't want her to see that. If she saw that, that would be like death to me if she would have saw that, even though she was also watching lesbian porn herself and had her own curiosities. But I'm a man, I'm a black man. We live in a patriarchal society. There's double standards. So I felt like I had to hide that. I found incognito on Google Chrome, and that became my best friend when I discovered that. But yeah, but after that relationship ended, and I was in college at this point, away in college, far away from home, 10 hours away in upstate New York near Buffalo, and I'm originally from Queens. I said, oh, okay, so this relationship is over. It's been about 4 years. I'm 22 now, from being with her since I was 17, and now I'm single. I'm away in college, and I'm single. So I'm just like, you know what? This curiosity has been in the back of my head since I was 12 years old. I've been watching gay porn, straight, all this kind of stuff, straight porn, curious, gang bangs with like one woman and multiple dudes and all that homoerotic shit. So I went on Grindr. I heard about Grindr. I was like, let me see what this Grindr talk about. You know what I mean? I heard about it, so I checked it out, and then I had my first sexual experience with another dude when I was in college. And after that moment, literally right after that moment, I said to myself, I am bisexual. So yeah, up until that point though, one of the reasons, like, I've only ever heard, whenever it came to bisexuality in men, and particularly black men, I've only ever heard of DL this, DL that, download this, download that. And that was always synonymous with cheating, with infidelity, with being dishonest, with being a liar. And it's like, the fact that that's associated with being a bisexual person is so fucked up, because straight people can be cheaters, can be liars, can practice infidelity, all these kind of things. Gay people can be cheaters and liars. Lesbians can be cheaters and liars. But the fact that, and those are character flaws, and to have a character flaw associated with an orientation is literally biphobia. Like, it's beyond fucked up, because now you're making that who I am based off of that. So I had a lot of internalized biphobia, because that's the only thing I ever saw in media. Like what we're doing right now, this was not a thing for my younger self. So I hope someone who's younger, questioning their sexuality, knows that if they are bisexual or pansexual, whatever, that's a valid experience to like different genders. Like, that's not, you're not crazy, you're not confused, it's legitimate. But yeah, I didn't have that. So yeah, so after my first experience with a dude, I was like, okay, so I know that I'm bisexual. I'm not even like questioning if I am. I'm 1000% sure that I am. But like, am I the only person? I'm the only person that I know. Who do I go to with this? Is there any like other? I said, if I go to like some of the gay dudes on campus and I tell them that I'm bi, I know they're gonna be dismissive. I know they're gonna be like, yeah, that's cute. You know what I mean? Yeah, I used to do that. I used to say that too. Yeah. Oh, your church, right? Your parents. You want to make your parents happy. Like, extremely dismissive, extremely condescending. So I was like, okay, so I'm not gonna go to them with that. And if I went to straight people with it, I just felt like that wouldn't be taken. I just felt like bisexuality wouldn't be taken seriously. And my first thought was like, I'm gonna be misunderstood. So that's when I was like, okay, I gotta find other people that experience this. And that's when I started doing like some Google searches, and that's when I found Heru, and I was like, oh, wait, hold on, wait a minute. And I saw his book, Recognized Bisexual Anthologies of Bisexual Men. And I was like, wait, he lives in Brooklyn, I live in Queens. And then that's when I decided to like reach out to him via Facebook. That's when I realized to reach out to him via Facebook, and then reconnected. And from him, I found other black bi men who are openly bi, older men my age. And it was just like, you know, thank you, because, you know, the misunderstanding piece comes from the fact that stuff is just really, really binary. I've never seen any kind of representation of I find a lot of queer people to say LGBT. They may say that, we could talk about trans, we could talk about lesbian, we could talk about gay. A lot of times when I hear conversations around bisexuality, when it comes to women, it's heavily fetishized, and it's like, oh, that's sexy, that's hot. But even in the fetishization or whatever, you still don't really respect it. Even in women, there's no respect or that being just a valid orientation for a woman. And then for men, I didn't really see much fetishization, but I definitely seen demonization. You know what I mean? So that's where the whole DL thing comes from, the association with being a liar, a cheater, all these kind of things. So, or just straight up, you're just gay and you're just lying to yourself. Like, there's just no way humanly possible that you can like women and also like men. That just doesn't exist. That's like saying liking chicken and liking steak. You can't like chicken and steak, right? That's crazy, blasphemous. So like that type of thought process, I don't even get it. But that's just the stuff I hear. And then so now that I finally accepted, okay, I am bi, whatever. But like I found back then, I very rarely had the interest to explore with dudes because I was very, very picky with guys, and I wasn't really that picky with women. But then I was just like, okay, so with women, I'm not in a relationship with these women that I'm sleeping with in college. Do I have to tell them? Is it necessary for me to tell them? And then I thought to myself, like, okay, so if I don't tell them, does that make me DL or whatever? So I was really grappling with that. So in most cases, I would tell women. Some cases I didn't. I honestly just didn't really feel comfortable talking about it. It was very, 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 very uncomfortable for me. That whole process was me texting a girl that I'm bi, even though she's right next to me, because I just couldn't verbalize them. I couldn't get the words out, and then her response would be, okay, whatever, like, that's not a big deal. And I'm just like, oh shit, you know what I mean? Or there's situations where I was involved with a girl for like months, 2, 3, 4 months, and I didn't tell her, and then upon the 3rd or 4th month I told her, and she was just like, okay, why didn't you tell me that before? And I'm just like, oh wow, like that's crazy, yeah. So I've had those kind of experiences. So right now, the space that I'm at now is we're basically I'm trying to work on my confidence. Because I realized that most of my life I just always thought, okay, yeah, women wouldn't be down for a black woman specifically, because that's really what my preference is as far as women is concerned. That women wouldn't be okay with that. Women wouldn't be okay with dating an openly bisexual man. That was just drilled in my head. You couldn't take me away from that. I just believed that. And my experience doesn't even align with that. Like a lot of black women definitely either don't care or turned on by it, curious, you know what I mean? So, for me, it's a confidence thing. It's an internal confidence within myself that's where I'm at right now, where I want to work on that, because I still kind of seek a woman's validation, or like, is this okay? I'm still not being 100% authentic. I am verbally being authentic, like, you're aware, but as far as the expression, my own personal self-expression and not being in my head and how I express myself, that's definitely a work in progress for me right now. It's most definitely internalized internalized biphobia. Yeah, both internalization of both biphobia and homophobia, because I have this amazing woman who is right in front of me, who's just like, she likes me for me. She knows that I'm bi. She doesn't care. She expressed to me, and this happened multiple times with different women, where it's like, yeah, I don't care. Like, you know what I mean? Or it's not a big deal. And it's like, I hear you, but I still have it in my head, like, nah, she's not really okay with that. You know what I mean? And so and with that, I still kind of like struggle with expressing certain parts of myself, because even though she's verbally telling me that everything's all good, I just have a feeling that I'm going to express myself a certain way or whatever, and she's going to be like, oh no, this is too much for me. And that's why, I'm still kind of like in my head about it, but I've had way better experiences with women as an openly bi guy than with gay men as an openly bi guy, which is surprising, because I always thought that I would have better experiences with men than with women as an openly bisexual man, because I thought, hey, we're queer, so like it's all good. But there's a lot of biphobia from gay men And with women, it's like, once I already told you from the get-go, I don't really got that much to worry about. Like, the hard part is pretty much done. Like, you know what's up, so, and you already like me because if you didn't, you would have left by now. So I don't really have those kind of issues with women. So finding community, bi community, pansexual community, fluid community has been extremely helpful for me. One thing I realized was I got to see the spectrum in real time when I'm around other bi men, that it's not cookie cutter. You know, I know bi men who are married to other men. I know bi men who are married to women. I know bi men who are polyamorous. I know bi men who have a boyfriend, bi men who have a girlfriend, bi men who are dating a trans person, bi men who are dating a non-binary person, poly with multiple gender partners. You know what I mean? There's so many different types of bi men who are virgins and never had any experience with any gender, bi people who exclusively been with one gender but not the other, but are very much attracted to and interested in. Just so many different experiences that I can only, it's like a Rubik's Cube. It's just unlimited almost, like, you know what I mean? And I love that because it takes me out of the binary and think of so many different options. Like so many, it's like, it's vast. It's a whole spectrum. And it's like, wow. And I'll only be aware of this if I got to meet other bi, pan, fluid people instead of this whole gay, straight thing. You know what I mean? And I love that because I find that I think very different. I think differently than monosexual people. When monosexual is just straight people or gay people, that's what non-monosexual is, like bi and pan and fluid people. And I know that I think differently from monosexual people. Like, for example, I have a friend, and I have a few friends, and like they're gay and everything, and they basically, when they go into a gay club, they just assume that everyone in this club is gay. When they go to a straight club, they just assume that everyone in this space is heterosexual. I just don't do that. I take fluidity. Fluidity is like a mindset. It's my default, to be honest with you. I don't know what anyone's sexual orientation is. And just because someone's identity label is not even congruent to, sometimes someone's sexual identity is not even congruent to orientation or behavior. So someone could tell me that they're straight and they're not participating in straight activities, or someone can tell me that they're gay and, you know, they're not, you know, the life that they're living is not really congruent with what that word means as far as exclusivity. But I can't tell someone what to call themselves. But like, yeah, so when I walk into a gay club, I don't assume that everyone's gay. I can make an assumption that everyone in this gay club likes the same gender. But do they like different genders? Do they like more than one gender? I don't know. If I go to a straight club, I can assume that I can assume that most people here like the different gender. You know what I mean? But I can't assume that everyone here doesn't like the same gender, because me as a bi person, when I'm in a gay club, I'm not gay. I'm not straight either. Yes, I like the same gender, but I don't exclusively like the same gender. When I'm in a straight club, you know, yes, I like women. I don't exclusively like women. And this type of thought process is complex. It's not so cut and dry, but that's the beauty and the beauty of fluidity to me. So yeah. So with my friends, right, most of my friends in New York have been straight black men. That's been my predominant friend group or whatever. That's another thing where I didn't really relate to the idea of gay, or, you know, like whenever I like, some of the stereotypes around sexuality is, if you are a man who likes other men, you just are automatically gonna want to be around a bunch of girls and like have a bunch of girlfriends and like play double dutch with ladies and all that. That just wasn't my experience as a young black boy. As a young black boy, I played basketball and I never really played on a team, but I played pickup basketball. Like, you know what I mean? Wasn't really too much into football like that, but I played a lot of basketball with you know, the neighborhood kids, my friends, whatever. And that was my social group right there. I didn't have any gay friends, or at least no openly gay friends, gay male friends. I didn't have too many women friends, like, you know, that just wasn't my socialization. So I didn't really relate to that as far as the stereotype goes, as far as men who like other men. And but when I moved down here to Georgia, you know, and I also had my first boyfriend here, I met a lot of queer men through him. because I came here during the pandemic and everything. Now I have way more gay friends. I would say most of my friends are gay. I do wish I had more bi friends, and I do have a lot of bi friends, but they're online in different countries, different states. But as far as like in the city of Atlanta, most of my friends are gay here, and that's cool and everything, because the friends that I have, they're not biphobic. They understand that I am bisexual or whatever, and they don't. If they were to be like disrespectful towards my identity, try to be condescending, downplay my experience, or try to gaslight me, they wouldn't even be my friend. And as far as my family goes, everyone in my family is aware, probably except my oldest brother, but we don't really talk that often. But my middle brother, he's 6 years older than me. We're super tight. We've always been super tight, and he's always been homophobic. But what I learned was there are people who are homophobic not because they hate gay people or hate queer people. I think it's sometimes a lack of exposure, because like for him, he just doesn't know anything in that world or anything in that realm. But once I told him like I'm bi and everything, it was just like, oh, okay, like where would that hate come from? For, like, you know what I mean? I'm your brother, so it's just like, oh, all right. And it's not a big deal for him, which is cool. Now my dad, on the other hand, that was interesting. My dad is in his late 60s, 67-year-old Jamaican man, and my dad has never spoken about anything that deals with sexuality, like literally any beyond sexual orientation, like even like sex. We don't have those kind of conversations. But he the few times I've ever heard him talk about sexuality as far as orientation is concerned, I've only ever heard him use the word faggot. Like that was just a word that he used every now and then. So I already knew what to expect when I decided to. I already knew what to expect when I decided to invite him in or whatever. And he's not a religious guy. I'm not really that close to my dad. Like he's been in my house my entire life. Like he raised me and everything. But as far as closeness, I don't really know what his religion is. I actually found out 2-3 years ago that he actually was like, has a very Rastafarian belief system, like Ethiopia and Haile Selassie and all that stuff. I didn't even know that. But when I told him, so one of the reasons why I decided to tell him, even though I live in Georgia and he's in New York, is he would keep saying, when are you gonna give me some grandkids? 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 And that shit just got annoying. First, especially because I'm the youngest of three. Like, my brothers are 35 and 41. We're all 6 years apart. And it's like, why don't you ask the oldest one in his 40s? I'm still like, can I get my life together? Can I get a better paying job? Come on, like, damn. You know what I mean? Can I get more stable? Why don't you ask the oldest one? But he didn't. He was just like, so he kept asking me that. It was getting kind of annoying, especially since as he was saying that to me, I had a whole boyfriend at the time. So I was just like, yeah, that's just not happening anytime soon. Children's just not in my mind state at the time where I'm in a whole relationship with a guy. You know what I mean? So when I went to go visit my family in New York, and I was there for about 2 weeks, and I didn't say anything to my dad the whole 2 weeks until it was the last day, and he was driving me from the house to the airport to go back to Georgia. I said, hey, I'm about to just say what I gotta say and get on that plane back to Atlanta, and what are you gonna do? You know what I mean? I'm gonna say what I gotta say, and then I'm gonna just get on that plane. So the whole car ride, didn't talk about it, and I waited exactly till I'm about to go into the backseat and get my luggage out to be like, hey, Dad, I just want to let you know I like both men and women, and I have since I was 12 years old. And I said, yeah, it just is what it is. That's just what it is, or whatever. And then he was like, oh, okay. And first he sighed, like he did like a deep, like just straight disappointment. You know what I mean? And I'm expecting it. I'm just like, I already know he's not about to throw me a parade and be like, woohoo! I already know it's gonna be bad. Like, you know what I mean? I'm expecting the absolute worst. So him just huffing and puffing, like, like, I was like, yeah, I expect that. I expect that response. You know what I mean? And then he said to me, he said, women aren't going for that, right? And I said, well, I haven't had those issues. You know what I mean? He's just like, all right, well, do you, or whatever. And I was just like, cool. And then he was just like, yeah, this stays between me and you. And I was like, oh, nah, you're the last to know. everybody already knows this. You just the last person to know. And he got upset that he's the last person to know. And it's like, why would I tell you that? Like, you know what I mean? The way you act and how you are, why would that? Yeah, you are the last person to know. And he was offended by that. But I mean, it is what it is, or whatever. So then, since then, he stopped asking me about grandkids. But after like maybe 6 or 7 months afterwards, I guess it just hit him like, oh wait, my son is bi, he's not gay. And then he kept going back to asking me about grandkids again. He doesn't ask me as often anymore, but like it's still, he's definitely trying to steer me in that hetero direction or whatever. But like I'm trying to be polyamorous, to be honest, so with different genders, but I'm trying to do me. So yeah. So I was very, 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 very much interested in getting therapy because I know that I have a lot of trauma, a lot of childhood trauma, grief, loss of a parent, because my mother had passed away when I was my senior year of high school of cancer. And it was just a lot of things that I haven't dealt with. My household that I was in, that I grew up with, that I was living in with my dad was extremely strict. And it was so strict. And I think he overdid the strictness because my mother had transitioned. And at that point in time, when a young boy is becoming a man, 17, 18 years old, this is not the point. This is not, even though I just lost a parent, but this is just really not the time to like shelter. This is the time for me to really spread my wings. And I didn't really, I mean, college was helpful with that, but I needed to get up out of there, you know? So I'm happy that I got to move out and everything in the past, like since, when did I move out? I think I moved out of my dad's place when I was about 25, and I'm 29 now. So like 3.5 years, something like that, 3 years, something like that. But yeah, 25 going on 26, yeah. Yeah, I needed that, and I also needed to get some help and just to like unpack some of the issues that I was dealing with. So my first therapist I had was a white woman. She was a white bisexual woman, and I went to a predominantly white college at the time, and I'm from a black neighborhood. My neighborhood that I grew up with in Jamaica, Queens is very Caribbean and African American. So I didn't grow up around white. So me going to this all white college, majority white college, where I'm the one black dude of 30 students, the last thing I wanted to do was to complain about white people to my white therapist. But she understood. I don't know if she took an Africana studies course in college or whatever, but she understood where I was coming from with a lot of things. And she was also bisexual, so she understood that aspect as well. And then my second therapist was a straight black woman who said she specializes in LGBT issues. But when I actually started talking about bi issues, she had no idea. I felt like she was trying to convince me that I'm gay. And like she didn't understand, like, no. I'm not in denial about liking men. I like men. I also like women. And that's where the confusion comes for like some people, the both or more than one part. So, you know, that was kind of annoying, but she did convince me to be in a relationship with a guy, because at that time being romantic with a dude just wasn't an option for me in my mind. I'm like, I'm not really trying to date no dude like this, like I'm good or whatever. She was just like, you know, you might feel how you feel about women the same way you feel about men if you allow yourself to have feelings for a guy. And I was like, well, if I meet that dude, I'm gonna see, we'll figure that out when we cross that bridge. And when I moved to Atlanta, that's exactly what happened. I met a nice guy, and I was like, yeah, I can see myself with this guy. And that's exactly what happened. And it feels similar for me. Like I'm definitely bi-romantic or pan-romantic. I'm definitely all of that, and sexually fluid as well. Yeah, you know, and then my third therapist was a lesbian woman who I just recently cut ties with by about a month or two ago or something like that. And she was cool. Her main modality was like CBT. So she was trying to help me to get out of my depression and anxiety by going to sleep at a certain time, and, you know, going to the gym 2 days a week, and my nutrition and what am I feeding myself and all these kind of things. But as far as like root issues, traumatic issues, family systems and all these kind of things, she wasn't really all that helpful with that. And she also was just like, to me, biphobic as well, because although she was a lesbian woman and she was a queer person, she really did not understand bisexuality at all, and or nor polyamory. When I brought it up to her, I felt like she was trying to insinuate that I'm like some hypersexual dude with no self-control who's just like fucking everything that moves, and I didn't like that shit, so she had to go. And recently I just found a new therapist. He's a black man in Atlanta, black man in Atlanta who's also bisexual and focuses on polyamorous issues as well. And it's a very sex positive therapy center or whatever, and I love that. This new guy, I did my first session like 2 weeks ago. My second session is this coming Monday. So like, yeah, definitely therapy. I hope this new guy really helps me with all of that good stuff. So I'm still exploring what polyamory looks like for me, because for me, I know there's so many different types of polyamorous ways to be polyamorous or ethically non-monogamous. I don't know if I necessarily want a girlfriend and a boyfriend at the same time. I don't know. I'm still figuring that out. But I know for a fact that I don't want to be with one person for the rest of my life. Even if I had a girlfriend or a girlfriend or a wife or whatever, me and my girlfriend or wife had threesomes every now and then, or if I had a boyfriend and me and him had threesomes every now and then with a woman, because I'm gonna want to be with a woman. So, you know, something like that, or just something where I'm just not with one person, one gender forever. Like, nothing about that sounds appealing to me. I'm not religious. This has nothing to do with God. This has nothing to do with the right way to live. I don't give a damn. I'm unconventional. As long as I'm being ethical, I don't give a damn. So, yeah. So my ideal relationship is some form of ethical non-monogamy. I personally don't care for marriage. Like, it's just a piece of paper to me. Like, it's like I'm not religious. If I'm getting married legally, it's because of the benefits, or like, you know, when I die, my partner could receive life insurance. I don't know, something like that, something legal like that. But like that, the legalities of it doesn't really connect with love for me. I can have love and experience love and be in love and express love without that sheet of paper that says, hey, you guys are binded together by this contract. Marriage to me just isn't really a goal of mine. Not to say that I would never get married, but it's just like not that big of a deal for me. I'm really trying to figure out what other ways to express love and show love that I let my partner know that they are my person and I have their back forever. Maybe something symbolic or ritualistic, something indigenous, something African, something. It doesn't necessarily have to be marriage per se. And as far as children goes, I definitely want to have children for sure. And I want to have children the natural way, like as far as vaginal sex, because I enjoy vaginal sex. Pussy's great. I love pussy. The idea of adoption or surrogation or like jacking off into a cup or something, I have no interest in doing that. Yeah, I definitely want kids, like one or two. A son and a daughter, or just a son or just a daughter. I would say the confidence that I have today comes from a lot of my experiences in community and meeting specifically older Black bi men who have been super, super confident. And I aspire to be that confident. You know what I mean? Like, I've met a lot of older Black men who've been mentors to me as far as how to be full expression of myself, especially in my sexuality and in my Blackness and in my maleness. All those things concurrently I learned from older Black bi men. They give me that confidence. You two give me that confidence. That's definitely where that confidence comes. I would say to my younger self, you are valid. You exist. Your experiences are valid. You know what I mean? You're not crazy or delusional. Even if gay men try to erase you or straight people try to erase you, your experience with your sexuality is real and valid. What I see in the future for Black bi men is there will be more healthy representation, because the only representation I've seen growing up was like liar, cheater, all these kind of things. I've very rarely ever seen a healthy expression of a Black man who likes more than one gender without it being pathologized. I would say to Black bi men who are struggling with rejection from women, I would say to go where you're celebrated, because yes, of course, there are women that's like, oh, I would never, And something that I like to tell myself that just makes me feel better is that those women that make it a point to be like, oh, I would never date a bi man, you probably already have. And when I think about that irony, I don't feel that bad about being so upfront from the get-go, because then I just realize, okay, yeah, they're ignorant. It's not even that they don't want to date a bi man or be involved with the bi man or whatever, they don't want to know that he's bi. This is what it seems like to me, because you already have dated a bi man. If you are 30 plus years old and you've been sexually active since you was in high school, and you had a hot girl summer and all that good stuff, and in college you was doing your thing. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Girls night, girls trip, all of that. You doing all that, right? And you think every single man you made sexual contact with never had any experiences with another man, yet you was eating coochie and getting ate, but a dude can't have that experience. And by him telling you that he had those experiences, that's what makes you less interested in him. So you kind of forcing him to not be upfront about it, or just don't bring it up. So I've never experienced that, but if I was to experience that, to be rejected from a woman simply just for being bisexual, yeah, I would just think about, you probably already been with a bi dude, whether that dude even acknowledges that he's bi or not. He could be behaviorally bisexual and identify as straight. Yeah, I'm gonna keep being honest though. I've had great experiences being honest, and it's definitely not an Atlanta thing, because this was way back for me, even in New York, even in college, even in my neighborhood. Now, I will say I don't really have great experiences online. Let's say, for example, I pay for Tinder and I put bisexual on my profile. When you pay for Tinder, you can see who swiped right on you. So when I don't put bisexual on it, it's a bunch of women. Now, when I do put bisexual on it, the women to male ratio is crazy. It's like 100 men to 2 women. So I just stopped messing with Tinder. Because I was like, I'm not gonna get no play on here. This is not it. But now in person though, is very different from online. If I'm in person with a woman, first of all, when I meet a woman in person, my sexuality doesn't even come up, because I'm talking to her, she's talking to me, we talking about whatever, and then by the time I even mention that I'm bi, she's already gotten to know me as an individual, where it's like, oh, okay. So I've had those kind of responses. I do feel like it's a superpower in a way, in my own unique way. I was actually explaining to a friend earlier today how the way I see the superpower is I have a different way of relating to men and a different way of relating to women that I don't think most straight and most gay men can experience. Because there's a lot of gay men that oh yeah, I just get women. I could just understand women because we're both whatever. A lot of gay men can relate to women in that way. But what if he could relate to women in that way and then also be romantically or sexually interested in that woman? That's a different layer of connection. So I was explaining to a friend of mine how for example, there's this woman that I've been talking to for a while, and I was saying to her how I don't really like going to gay events, because every time I go, a lot of dudes just start touching me without my consent and stuff like that, just groping and all that, very, very cruisy type stuff that I'm not into. And I remember when that first started happening to me, I was like, man, is this what women go through? Damn, this is crazy. So those experiences informed me on how I show up when I'm interacting with the woman that I'm interested in. Okay, I don't want to be that dude, not only because I can just be a witness and see women experiencing that, no, because I've been the experiencer of that from other men. And so I don't want to be that guy. So it's a different thing, because most straight men are not in those spaces where that's normal, because they're not going to gay spaces. And most gay men who may have had those experiences, they're only on a platonic level with women. So they're not experiencing a woman in a different kind of way of, oh no, I've kind of experienced what you're experiencing, and I'm also on the other end of that, of I'm the guy dating you. So it's a different way of relating to me. One thing that I would like to work on is I want to be more confident around gay men, because I have a lot of imposter syndrome when I'm around gay men. Before, when I was younger, that it wasn't imposter syndrome, it was internalized homophobia. I don't really think I have much internalized homophobia now. Like I said, most of my friends are gay, and I live in Atlanta, Georgia, so it's I'm cool. But I feel a lot of imposter syndrome, where I know a lot of gay men who would be because they look at bi as being on the fence. So when I'm in queer spaces, they kind of look at you like you don't belong here. You know what I mean? I'm single right now, but I know that feeling was going to be times 10 if I'm in a relationship with a woman. If I'm in a relationship with a woman, it's okay, wait, why are you here again? This is, you know what I mean? Because it's a very binary thing. You're only going to be really accepted if you have a boyfriend or a husband. And it's just so stupid to me, because as a man in a patriarchal society, if I'm in this queer space, why the would I be here? If I thought this was like too gay for me or some shit, I just would be like, this is gay as fuck and I'm gonna leave. I'm here. I'm in this space, taking up space. I have a right to belong. I have a right to be here as a queer person, as a bi man. So it's like, I don't like that imposter syndrome thing that some gay men do. Like to be gay is like to be fully actualized. If you're bi or pan, you're just playing around. You're just on the fence or whatever. It's like, nah. And I would also say, for me, in my experience, kinky spaces are just, I don't experience that in kinky spaces. When I'm in like certain sex positive spaces, there's not this hierarchy that there is in gay spaces. That hierarchy is very, very apparent. Yeah, when I'm in sex positive spaces, kink spaces, BDSM spaces, I feel like I can be by myself because everyone's just like, yeah, man, just do you, like in those kind of spaces. And so I feel more comfortable in those spaces than LGBT spaces. So when I say like some gay men kind of look at you like I have arrived, you know what I mean? To me, I call it performative outness, where you have to out somebody. Like there's so many times where I've spoken to specifically gay black men, and they'll be like, I've been in the lifestyle longer than you. And I'm just like, first of all, what lifestyle? Because I don't look at your sexual orientation as a lifestyle. That's one. And it's like very hierarchical, like who's the most out, who's been out. Even the concept of out to me is pretty silly. You should just exist. It's not you being out. It's just you. But yeah, like who's been out the longest? Who's the most out? Who's wearing the flag? You know what I mean? Like, I have my bi flag in my room and all that stuff, and I have it tattooed on my skin. So there's nothing wrong with that. But also, if someone chooses not to do that or not to be open, that is just as okay. But there's like this shaming of you're discreet. Wait, you need to be more. You know what I mean? You're already part of a marginalized group. You don't have to do that. So it's like, if you want to do that, sure. But like performative outness, I don't really fuck with that. So external biphobia and homophobia definitely informs the internal, and I definitely struggle with that because sometimes it feels like my internal world is not congruent with the external world, and I don't really fit in, especially things being so binary. And that's why bi community is so important to me, because it makes me feel whole that there's other people like me. Because when I'm in gay spaces, I don't necessarily feel whole, especially when I try to affirm myself in those spaces and they're like in the side eye or hand quotes, they'll say like claim to be bisexual, these kind of very passive aggressive, condescending ways of gaslighting one's experience. So, that shit don't feel cool. And that's why I prefer sex positive spaces over that. Yeah, the internal sometimes doesn't match the external, because the external doesn't even acknowledge that I exist. So the internal ends up feeling like just out of whack, unless I find spaces where space is created for people on the spectrum to exist. So I would say the most influential people in my life as far as my sexual identity is concerned have been older black bisexual men. One of the things I specifically like about talking with older black bisexual men is that things are a lot easier for me as like a millennial. The way the internet works, the way TikTok is and Instagram and all these kind of things, people are more accepting. But the 80s and the 90s and the early 2000s was like the height of a lot of the hate towards bisexual black men. And the fact that y'all lived through that and like was like, yeah, man, it really wasn't that bad. Like, I'm like, what? Because I'm thinking about the idea of it. And like the idea of it was the fear from, because I was experiencing the fear of it before I even experienced it. I was already just media, all these things, history, what I've heard my mother say, my aunts, and be careful. You know what I mean? A bi dude is always a cautionary tale for women, for black women. Like, be careful, because it's back to that whole DL thing. Bi men were just seen as a public health issue as well. It was like that kind of thing. In the 80s, in the 90s, in the early 2000s, saying that you're bisexual back then, as a black man, oof. So, the fact that y'all are like, yeah, I was there. It wasn't that bad. You know what I mean? I was still open with women and I was still getting women and it was still all good. It's like, okay, so like, okay, it's not that bad. Like, you know what I mean? So like, that type of stuff makes me have more hope for the present and the future for me. So but yeah, this was definitely a great conversation, and I'm still bisexual.
Thank you for listening to Black Fluidity special edition of the Anthologies of Bisexual Black Men. Until next time, have a great day.